to give us some tips as to improving quality of our overall meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Feedback is very necessary for our improvement. So I would like to invite Natalia to give evaluation for Lisa.
Thank you very much. I'm evaluating Lisa, and it was her third project, Get to the Point. I think Lisa was very persuasive, and she told us the whole story. She started with a, set up in a church, and everybody was there for the funeral, so it's got our attention. And we start, paying attention and being very careful what's going to happen. And then she kind of connected it to her family, revealing us that it was her grandfather's funeral. So at that point, we knew that it was a personal story to Lisa, and she continued to, share us detail about her family and her background, and three friends, how they supported each other. So it was kind of a storytelling that got, I think, everybody involved, and it was also very emotional and meaningful, and I think it is very important in any story and any presentation. It had a real meaning. And speech was I think it was very organized. It had a clear opening, the body of the story, and conclusion. And in the conclusion, Lisa asked us a question, so what do you think your legacy will be? So it kind of leaves us with open question. We're going to think about it and kind of look inside and in our families and see what legacy we will leave behind. I think her speech was very meaningful. She presented it very good way. Her volume was constant. Lisa asked me to look out to see, make sure her volume was constant through the whole speech. And she did not use notes at all, so, which was a very strong point. I like how she shared this story with us, her personal story, and I think it also motivates us to think about what we're gonna leave behind. And I think Lisa did a wonderful job, keeping us interested and leading through, whole few generations. And also the points that I liked, that her grandfather was helping people, and it was anonymous. Nobody knew that is what he was doing. I like when people do something for society and don't necessarily ask for reward right then and there. I think it was very personal presentation, and I learned a lot, and you did a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Now to evaluate Fadi's speech, I would like to welcome Lee Rowley.
Morning, fellow Toastmasters.
Good
morning. And Fadi. Is it DNA or is it lifestyle? When I read the title of the speech, I thought, if people spend their entire lifetimes on this topic, how's he going to distill this into a 5 to 7 minute speech? And I was pleasantly surprised because your use of characters, you did Bob and John, you picked the perfect structure to be able to discuss this topic and build those characters, and that kept the audience engaged. By creating these fictional characters, you were able to develop their stories from birth on through childhood and through college and beyond. I think it was an excellent way to approach it, and I think that helped all of us really understand what you were going for. You had a very clear speaking voice, loud enough I think everybody could hear in the back of the room, good pacing, and a very relaxed style. That's one thing I enjoy about your speeches, is that you always have a very relaxed style, and that draws people in and makes people listen. You were prepared with notes. That was great. Some of us, myself included, tend not to have notes available, and I think that really helped out your speech as well. good eye contact, and again, good pacing with your speech. A couple of things that I saw for possible opportunities in the future. You did pick a topic that had a ton of information, and you put a ton of information into your speech. One thing that I think might have helped the listeners sort it out would be to have a visual aid. Like if you had a simple chart, Bob, John, and as you're going through, to list each one of those, because one thing that I found was I was kept constantly going, wait, who's doing what here, So that the last thing that I'd like to mention, an opportunity for improvement, is you gave a lot of information, and then the conclusion was implied. I think we always understood at the end of the speech what you were going for and the point you were making, but it still might have helped to state that at the end of the speech. And I'm not sure if that was because you felt like you were right. I saw the red flag go up there, so I don't know if you thought you were running out of time, but just being able to state at the end of it the conclusion that everybody was to draw from the chronology that you set forth would have made it stronger, I think, and brought it home for us. Otherwise, excellent job. I look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you, Lee. And now, to evaluate Arlene's speech, I would like to welcome Ingrid.
Thank you very much. Arlene, it's been a great pleasure getting to see you giving the Vanna speech a few different times and places between the different competitions. Please know all of us are going to be with you on Saturday in spirit. A few of us will actually even be with you there in person. And you've done a great job developing the speech. I would just mention that I thought your way of pausing before you actually started speaking was excellent. You pulled the audience in immediately, with those significant, intentional opening. Your physical presence in terms of, I know we're being a little bit careful with the physical space today. Your physical presence with the 1 and the 1 hour and then the 2 hour, and the way you pulled in the audience members by name, I thought that was, again, just a further development of your speech and very good connection. I personally enjoyed seeing you walk a little bit more with the luggage the first time you gave the speech, and I think that might have been a little bit limiting for you today. Feel comfortable. I'm not sure exactly what the setup is going to be at OCLC, but I think you'll use the space well. The one of the things I also was going to mention is great vocal variety. You continue to develop your vocal variety in this speech as well, and using that exasperation. So as the time of the speech goes on and the humorous notes come out, very good use of your voice. One thing I would mention is I particularly liked your daughter's ending as your concluding notes. When you were saying, I really owe my daughter the apology. So a little bit less focus on the ADHD and a little bit more humorously wrapping back into that mother-daughter advice thing, for me was a funnier ending. So I don't know if anybody else will give you some feedback afterwards about how you finished it. But the one thing I am concerned about is the time. You went, I think Steve will tell us, but I think it was 7:13. And as I remember the contest, there's some pretty tight guidelines around timing. So might want to just sort of tighten that down, and other people probably have some recommendations for you. Good luck with
Thank you, Ingrid. Now, before we get Timer's report, I would like to say some few words about how the meeting went. So, Matt, can I borrow your drill machine? Thank you. So, meeting started on time. I think we were a few minutes late, but we will end on time. And Elle, the great voice, great energy, great team for today. And one thing I liked on the emails, that how we put this meeting together, how we put this team, Glenn, together, and that was really great. On seeing on the email the coordination, the cooperation of the whole club on the emails, that was very positive. Was very great. Table topics, great table topics. Very good questions about Glenn, very well answered by our members. And speeches were great too. Father, your speech was great. Lisa, your speech was very good. And who was the third speaker? Arlene. Yes, Arlene, yes. Your speech, I have heard this speech before, and I think you have improved it a little bit. You have added some things and you have subtracted something, but it has improved. It was a great speech. And about the evaluators, they gave a very good positive feedback. Hopefully everybody will improve their speaking skills with the feedback that they provided. And I will just end my evaluation with one message to Glenn: get well soon. We need you here, back in this club. And now we will go to the timer to get the timer's report. Steve, could you please give us the timing report?
Sure. The speeches were all supposed to be 5 to 7. Lisa, you were 6:50. Body, you were 7:25, and Erlene were 7:13. Table topics were 1 to 2 minutes. Steve, you were 1:38. Thank you very much. And thanks to Dana for stepping in there. Ingrid, you were 1:18, and Matt, you were 1:37. Speech evaluators were 2 to 3 minutes. Natalia, 2:43. Lee, 2:42, and Ingrid, 2:06. General evaluator, Shaquille, 3 to 5. You were a minute 40.
Thank you, Steve. Now we will go to our grammarian, Leo. Leo, could you please give us your report?
Let me just start with the word of the day, which is compassionate. And folks who use the word of the day, Lisa, Steve, and Ingrid. And in terms of filler words, body, we have people one double words, so one soul, couple instances of soul, no, and Steve, Natalia, one instance of Ingrid, 2 souls, 3 and 1 That's it.
Thank you. Okay, that ends the evaluation part of the meeting. Now let's go back to our Toastmasters.
Well, thanks to everyone for participating. Again, thanks Susan and Melissa for keeping us informed on Glenn. Glenn, thank you for the many faces of mentoring. With that, we'll turn the meeting over to our president.